That's what it's all about. So this is live in three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day three of Crypto Basel 2020. I am your host, Lady Phoenix, and I am joined by Jin. Should I say your whole name is Jin Cool?
JIN is great.
Awesome. Jin, I know you also go by Wolf X Lion. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So I used WooF in Clubhouse because at first when someone told me about the app, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was maybe a dating app or something. So I used I just thought of something and then I put it in there and then all of a sudden I started gaining a little traction in Clubhouse and now it's too late to change it back. And because beta stage, there's really no way to change your name. So, but I did use Wolf and Lion as a name for a creative agency that I had quite a few years ago.
Okay,
So that's where
excellent.
that came from.
I love that name, so I don't think you should change it. Wolf and Lion is fantastic.
Thank you. I think I'll stick with it.
Yeah, it's great branding too, because even if, people didn't quite know what you were about, everyone, not everyone, a lot of people want to be associated with strong animals, and wolf and lion are both very strong, admirable creatures. So
They're two of my favorite animals. I think they're absolutely beautiful.
mine too, mine too. Well, everyone, just before we went live, Jen and I were actually having a conversation about equity and how technology can create more equitable situations or create more equitable thinking amongst the social populace. I'm really excited about today's topic. It's how to advance your social or how to advance your music career using TikTok. But I wanted to say it's not just music. Jen has a background in music. He has a background in like growth acceleration. We're going to get into that. But when you think about it, it isn't just music. Um, you can use these strategies to advance your brand overall. If you're an influencer, if you have something important you want to say, there's so much social activism happening on TikTok. Use these tips and tricks and gems that Jen is going to insert into your crown to advance yourself, regardless of whatever your topic is, whatever your cause is. Just use it to get your message out into the world. So Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you have a background in growth because of Vets, and Vets is a royalty marketplace. It was actually the first royalty marketplace for musicians. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is the world's first blockchain music royalty marketplace. We created an app that allows people to download this app and you can invest in your favorite music. And then as that music becomes more popular, you earn a royalty dividend along with that artist. So it's almost like investing in your favorite music. And for the artist, for an independent artist, this is a great way to crowdsource and advance against quote unquote future royalties. And even with bigger artists, we sold out of Beyonce last year, a song called "I've Been On," which was featured on her Netflix home. $50,000 worth for I think 3.5% of the songwriters' rights for a 3-year version. And why would a celebrity need something like this? Well, if you ask Beyonce or Ariana Grande or anyone who's got 100 million followers on Instagram, are you happy with your engagement? And most likely they're not because their engagement probably at, 1 or 2%. They would love to see that double. So although they need the money that you can raise from Vest blockchain, if you had a million people theoretically invest $5 into one of your songs, a million people could then turn into 10, 20, or 30 million streams because now they feel like they're your partners. You're basically crowdsourcing your own label. And whereas the label gives you an advance, now your fans give you the advance, and it's up to them to promote the heck out of you. And hopefully, some of your fans are really passionate on social media, Instagram, IG, TikTok, whatever the channel is. It's up to them to promote you so you can all make more money. And this is more of an engagement tool than anything else.
Excellent. And beyond like Beyonce, have there been any sort of regular people that have done big things on with Vets or using a similar model?
So with Vest, we were built primarily for independent artists. It wasn't for the big artists. We onboarded the biggest artists. Nipsey Hussle was our first ambassador. Rest in peace. We got the big artists, songs from people, artists from Jay Z, Drake, Beyonce, The Weeknd, Ariana Grande, to get more user awareness and to get more downloads. But our primary functionality is to support independent artists. These artists, may not want a 360 deal from a label, and maybe that's not the route they should go for, but they still need to create some revenue. And if they're too busy working 3 jobs and driving Uber to support their art, when are they going to have time to create art and promote that art? So we wanted to democratize the financial mechanism to empower independent artists. So one of our first examples was Julian Extra. He raised $3,000. He's an unknown rapper, and he ended up raising almost $10,000. And this money was used to create his YouTube video, got over hundreds of thousands of views. It allowed him to move to New York, hire a publicist, and now he's doing a lot of sync work and licensing work and collaborations with a lot of influencers and getting great traction. So he's a great example of it.
Wow, that's really impressive. And since the title of this talk is about TikTok, how do you see similar styles or frameworks or business models being applied to social apps, specifically TikTok?
So social apps have always been, the easiest way to, gain a following and hopefully virality, but we've never seen anything like TikTok. TikTok is hands down the most powerful marketing tool we've ever seen this decade, especially in music and in most of our lives, especially to Gen Z. It absolutely is the most powerful thing. It's free. There's zero barrier to entry. It's extremely viral. The algorithm is absolutely amazing. We're seeing people do duets, challenges, reaction videos, covers seem to do really well. When we saw the dog face ocean spray TikTok, that video got him 9 million followers, I believe. And Fleetwood Mac, this is a 65-year-old song, the Dream Song, became a hit on the top 50 Billboard in 3 different positions for 3 different albums. 65-year-old music just became viral for this generation. Like, you can't put a price on the power of that. So we totally believe in TikTok.
And Dogface kind of came out of nowhere. He was a little known dude in the corner of the, internet, just on his skateboard with his ocean spray and occasionally smoking his weed, and decided to get a little self-care in, right, by taking his longboard out. And it's interesting, around the time that TikTok came out, it was at the height of some political unrest. So I think sort of like this reaction to Dogface, just enjoying life, being casual and feeling
Yeah.
good, wind in his face, ocean spray in hand. And do you know anything about Dogface? Is
Not
he
too much, other than
okay?
as an outsider. He represented all the feels of our nation. He
Yes.
was, he's more than a person, he's a vibe. And if you think about what
Yes.
is TikTok, TikTok is not just social media. It's not a community. It's 100% a vibe. And for the brands like McDonald's or Coca-Cola, who should be killing it on TikTok and they don't even have one video, brands don't understand. And sometimes the musicians and creators, even myself, I didn't know what it was, but it's a vibe. TikTok represents a culture. It's a new paradigm shift. It is all about inclusivity. It's about self-love. It is about acceptance. It's about loving yourself. And what Dogface did was, he took the darkest time in human history, and he was about to get fired because his truck broke down, and he said, "F it, man! I'm gonna get on a skateboard. I'm gonna drink my 1 liter of ocean spray, and I don't even care." And he played that song, and that was the feeling that resonated with hundreds of millions and now billions of people around the world. He represented a collective vibe, and I think that was the key to that success, is understanding what the vibes are and then resonating with the feels.
Yeah, I love that. Resonating with the feels. That I might change the name of this panel to Resonating with the Feels.
It's all yours. Take it. Run with it.
So how have you gone from Vest to TikTok? What was the bridge or the leap for you? How did you make that connection?
So it wasn't necessarily a leap. It's a transition, and everybody has to embrace TikTok. I'd say several months ago, there was a risk that TikTok was going to get banned in the U.S. So there was some hesitation, and then a lot of artists were wondering, well, instead of TikTok, should I start on Triller? Because there's a lot of people who hadn't even started on either. And now that TikTok sale looks like it's going to go through with Oracle and Walmart, and your data may or may not be safer this way. A lot of people are embracing it. We absolutely have to embrace TikTok because some of the most viral stars are happening on TikTok. One artist that I'm managing, her name is Lauren Compton. She's the creator of the Wipe It Down challenge. You may have heard of it. It's the third biggest challenge in TikTok history with 12 billion collective views. It was used by ESPN, Audi, NBA finals. And this artist, I think you know the song, it's like Wipe, Wipe, Wipe It Down. He was pretty unknown. And then after that video went viral, there was a bidding war for him. And he ultimately signed a 360 deal with the label. And now artists all over the place are trying to figure out, well, how do I make music optimized for TikTok? There are people who are creating labels, like algorithmically designed to be used on TikTok. So it seems like there's a lot of attention on TikTok, not just for me, but as an industry as a whole. It is the most powerful and free marketing machine. It's the best marketing machine for music that we've ever seen.
So much so that you actually started TikTok Notes on Substack. I subscribe to that for sure.
So it's so funny. That wasn't necessarily meant to be a public blog. I started that because I just needed a quick place to write my own notes because I'm fairly new to TikTok. When I started talking with Lauren back in June or July, was it? I didn't know anything about it. So as I'm learning and ramping up quickly, I started writing all the best notes and best practices so I could ramp up on that. And then funny enough, I started talking about TikTok, the case studies that I collected, not from a place of me being an expert, but me as a absolute beginner, but curating as much information as possible and being able to synthesize it and explain it to other beginners. I felt like my voice resonated, especially in Clubhouse where you and I, and when I started sharing with people, hey, I've got this blog. It's not fancy. Go to TikTok Notes, whatever, check it out. I ended up getting 5,800 signups on it, and I've never promoted it ever outside of Clubhouse. And it just goes to show you how powerful TikTok is and how powerful the interest is when people want to go to this very low level blog that I started that was only meant for myself.
So how did you and you mentioned Lauren a few times now. How did you and Lauren meet exactly? And what was the, can you take a step by step on how you got, in business with her to then helping her launch the third biggest challenge on TikTok?
So, we've always seen each other around. We both live in Los Angeles. So if you live there for a couple of years, you just start to see everybody. It's the same circuit of parties and events and what have you. And then once that video started to get traction, I was blown away. I thought it was just the cutest video. I thought her facial expressions, just everything about it was amazing. So I just DM'd her and I said, I just love what you're doing. This is amazing. And then we started talking back and forth. We started talking about different challenges, different strategies, TikTok as a whole, the culture, the her goals, objectives, and all the unlimited possibilities about TikTok. And I came from it. I'm a pretty creative person, but I'm also pretty analytical. And I think I give good strategy and advice on vision. And I know how to structure it and scale it. I build companies and I scale companies fairly inexpensively. That's kind of like what I do. And one day she's like, you know what? I would love it if you'd manage me. And I said, wow, I don't manage influencers, but I feel like you're more than that. Like this is such a movement, and I need to learn. So yes, I would love to be a part of this and help you and work with you. So we've worked together and done several campaigns since the summer, and it's been a pleasure and a joy. working with her and learning more about TikTok. And I've got a ton to share, especially if you follow my blog.
Excellent. Can you give us some of the like top 3 things that you have learned that you have put in your own crown, the gems and jewels you put in your own crown that you said to yourself, wow, had I not taken on this opportunity with Lauren, I don't know if I would have ever gotten this insight.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with TikTok is you always want to use its newest features. So, like green screens, stitches, any platform is going to promote the newest features. If you're using green screen or stitch, you're going to get 3 to 10x more engagement than any other kind of a post, like a repost from IG or something. And that goes for IG. If you use Reels, you're going to get 5 to 10x more reach and engagement on Reels. So you always want to use the newest features. The older features, they're just not going to push as hard. And then on TikTok, you definitely want to utilize duets. You want to use reaction videos, challenges, covers, things like that, especially for musicians, are super viral. Consistency is the key. If you can post at least once a day, the algorithm will reward consistency. If you can do 3 times a day, that's even better. If you're in a high growth stage, you want to post 5 to 7 times a day, but you
Wow.
don't want to be super random. You don't want to post 3 videos today, wait 2 weeks, post another, wait another month, post a really polished music video. It's got to be consistent. So if you can do it at least once a day, I definitely recommend that. You want to use hashtags, but you don't want to overdo hashtags. 6 of the top TikToks of 2020 had 0 hashtags. But when you are using hashtags, you want to minimize them. 6 hashtags, I believe, is the maximum amount, because any more than that, it can encroach on the actual video itself because it's vertical. So I always use the 222 algorithm. You want to use 2 hashtags that are super wide, that millions of people are using. You want to use 2 hashtags that are super trendy, whether it's ocean spray or just something that's you're hopping on a trend. And then 2 hashtags that are super niche, that maybe less than 50,000 people are using. So 222 is the rule. And then the same rule is for Instagram, but I call it the 33% rule, where instead of using 222, Instagram allows up to 30 hashtags, especially in your comments. So you can go 10% of the hashtags are super wide, 10% trendy, and then 10 hashtags that are super niche. You want to
Excellent.
focus on what time you want to post. So on TikTok, we found that between 12 and 2 p.m. is optimal, and then after 8 p.m. But you definitely want to test this. And yeah, there's so many other things. I could go on and on. So just let me know when I should
Well,
stop.
you have a whole hour, so do not stop. This is the idea here is to, present massive value. I think that with this generation of folks in particular, they are looking for ways, especially being in COVID, they are looking for ways to hack their lives and to hack growth, not just interpersonal growth, but professional growth as well. And also, I'm a big fan of you already, so I'd love if and I've gotten tremendous value and have enjoyed our conversations both within Clubhouse and then offline. And I would just love for people to know know you in the way that I've gotten to know you in this short time. Someone
Well, thank
who's
you
got
for
a
that.
yeah, absolutely. I think you're a really rad individual. You've got a big heart. Philanthropy is at the center of everything you seem to do, mindfulness and consciousness. And, just professionally, like you said, you do have that talent of being able to quickly scale and grow companies and do it, in a lo-fi way where they can get to a point that, like Lauren, she was doing things maybe in a lo-fi way. You teamed up with her and brought the sauce, and now the two of you together are doing things. You're doing big things to have, what was it, 11 billion streams?
11 billion views
11.
collectively.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty insane for, someone, again, doing their thing in the corner of the internet, right? I mean, she
yeah.
wasn't, what were her views like before you guys met? Was she quite popular, or was she kind of budding, like getting there?
I mean, she was kind of struggling, under 100,000 followers. She's an actress, she's a comedian, she's a model. So she was kind of optimized for TikTok. Obviously, TikTok is a visual community. But people need to know that you don't have to be a model to be on TikTok. Again, the attitude in TikTok is all about inclusivity, loving yourself, and acceptance. So it's all about like not wearing makeup, showing off your flaws, showing your vulnerability, showing off your authenticity. If you look at angry reactions, one of the most famous, not famous, but fastest growing TikTokers, he's an African American young male, Gen Z, and he is extremely overweight, not typical model good looks. In fact, he's very abstract looking, but he's so sincere and genuine that people love him. And I think he's at 10 million followers, and his engagement is through the roof. The amount of people that reach out to him for collaborations. I mean, he is a TikTok machine. So it's not just about the looks. And then as for Lauren, she's so funny. Everything is like dry humor, and it's kind of like slapstick comedy, and that's her bread and butter. And when you've got like that sweet disposition with that comedy, it definitely it just hit her sweet spot. And everybody, like they just kind of, everybody has a sweet spot, and it takes a lot of testing to understand what it is. So I recommend that everybody just absorb a lot of content. People will often say, I'm too old for TikTok. I missed my shot. It's never too late. And it's all about just watching like a couple hours a day if you can. Like you don't just jump into a conversation and start spitting out facts. You sound kind of irrelevant. You have to sit back and watch and listen. You go to a new party, you gauge the vibe, you feel it out, and then you start interacting. And it's the same thing with TikTok. Just watch a couple hours, and every day I am blown away by the amount of talent that I'm seeing on TikTok. Some of these kids have more talent in their little finger than I do in my whole body. But again, it's not even about children or Gen Z. Like, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is an astrophysicist, a quantum physicist. Why is he on TikTok talking to 13-year-olds? Well, he has amazing stories, and they're like 7 seconds, and they're optimized for TikTok, super quick cuts. And he talks about dark matter. He talks about black holes. He talks about solar flares, but he says it in such an interesting way. He's got, well over 3-4 million followers on TikTok, and his engagement is amazing. We're talking about an astrophysicist, and he's not, attractive. He's not young. So, I mean, if he can make it, I believe anybody can make it.
So you're saying Neil is not an attractive dude?
I think he is very attractive, but I would say the algorithms would say he is not typically attractive, like Addison Rae or Charlie D'Amelio.
Good save, because if you see him out at a party, he might try to ask you out for coffee or something, but maybe feeling self-conscious since he found this YouTube and heard that you thought he wasn't attractive. So,
Well, I would be happy to go to coffee with him any day of the week.
So I'm a new musician. I've got, let's say, 10,000 fans or followers on Instagram. Got like 2,500 on Twitter, and I'm brand new to TikTok. I've seen this video and I've just popped in, and you said, watch a few hours, sit back, don't try to, put yourself out there, really learn the space, feel the vibe, and then decide what you want to do. Okay, yeah. Step one, covered. I've done that. I heard you then say, you need to apply the 2-2-2 method to hashtags.
Yep.
2 hashtags that are relevant to what you're doing, 2 hashtags that are trendy, and then 2 really broad hashtags, right? Yep. Okay, yep. Check. I've done that. Now, what's my step 3? Step 3, I use Stitch and I use green screen. Okay, so I've got that method down as much as possible. So I've got that down. Okay, step 4, how do I start advancing my career?
I would start analyzing all the most trendiest videos, and they're always duets, the challenges, reaction videos, and covers. And I would analyze all of that and figure out which ones are the most relevant to your space, your style of music. And then I would start to model them. And as for modeling, the best modeler ever was Floyd Mayweather, who's the greatest boxer in history. He's never lost. What Floyd Mayweather did was, in the beginning of his career, he modeled his fighting style to Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray. And what he did was he took all of their greatest strengths, and he removed all of their weaknesses, and he broke himself down, reconstructed himself, in the vein of the three of them and created a super fighter. And he was super systematic about it. So if I was a brand new musician, I would say, which three, 5, 10, 100 musicians do I most want to model on TikTok? Who's really killing it on TikTok? Is it Post Malone? Is it Jason Derulo? Is it somebody I haven't heard of? Find out what they're doing. What kind of videos are they using? What kind of hashtags are they using? Are they using overlays? Are they using captions? What type of stickers are they using? What's the frequency of their post? What time are they posting? I would make a spreadsheet like a data scientist, and I would analyze every single one of my competitors and the people that I want to reach and or exceed or embody. And then I would synthesize all of that and then come up with my own algorithm. I would model the best and then put my own slight twist on it.
That's pretty amazing. So you almost have to be your own, you have to create your own algorithm in a sense in order for it to sync with the TikTok algorithm, essentially, is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
There is an algorithm for reinventing yourself and staying ahead of trends, and it's called the Maya theory. Are you familiar with the Maya theory?
No, but I love the idea that there is an algorithm for reinventing yourself, because I think there is an algorithm for everything that's human, including happiness, depression, all of those things. And once you can hack your own personal algorithm, you don't ever have to be depressed. You can maintain happiness. And I say this from from a point of experience, someone who, grew up battling with depression, and finally at a certain point in my life said, oh, I get it now. I understand these triggers. I understand the waves and cycles. I know how to hack this. I know how to find my own happiness and maintain my own joy. So I'd love to hear more
So
about
the
the
Maya
Maya.
theory is most advanced yet acceptable. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
most advanced yet attainable or acceptable. I'm butchering this, but it's something to that effect, and it's created by Raymond Loewy, who is the greatest industrial designer ever. He created the post office logo, the FedEx logo, the modern day airplane, the modern day railroad train, like almost every timeless piece of industrial design, Raymond Loewy, he invented that. And his theory was um, Maya, most acceptable yet attainable. I believe that's what that
Most
is.
advanced yet acceptable.
Okay, yet acceptable. So what that means is if you're too far ahead of the curve, then you'll lose your audience. If you all you do is stay within the trend, then you blend in with everybody. So you want to be the most advanced yet familiar. So when you go back 10 years, a little over 10 years, BlackBerry phones own the market, like 97% penetration. And Steve Jobs said, I'm going to make a phone. People said he was crazy. Steve Ballmer from Microsoft said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. BlackBerry owns it. No one should try. Steve Jobs created the iPhone, and it was totally advanced because it didn't have buttons. It was a touch screen. You could pinch in and out to zoom. It looked like alien technology for some people. Yet the interface, when you open it up, it looked very familiar. So that was the perfect example of Maya. And musicians and creators, designers, everyone should embrace Maya theory, especially when you're on social media. You definitely want to stay with the trends and participate them, but you also at some point want to stay a little bit ahead of the curve. And then you want to measure it so you're not too far ahead of the curve and you're not just perfectly in the middle, but you're just kind of in the middle. And every once in a while, you're a little bit ahead.
Now that's a nice jewel there for the crown, for sure, and a great nugget for even personal hacking in terms of your own growth and your own abilities and possibilities, right, to reach your goals. Because sometimes, I know personally when I have big goals, I've written them and think that I can take that leap and get to that goal pretty easily.
Mhm.
And, being discouraged, I didn't have, there was a time I didn't have the frameworks or the skillful means to go back and say, well, what steps what steps are there, sub steps, are there
Right.
smaller steps that I can take to reach this goal instead of trying to stretch myself to get to this point. So I love Maya as a tool, as a part of someone's skillful means to be able to reach goals, but also hack the TikTok algorithm. um, tell me another, Jewel. Now I'm hooked. Now I'm salivating.
So one of my posts that are the most popular on the blog that I sent people to was called the Human Attention Algorithm, pioneered by David Huron. Did I ever tell you that one?
No, I'd love to hear more.
So David Huron was a musicologist professor, PhD from University of Ohio, and he wanted to figure out if there's an algorithm to keep and maintain human attention. So he started with mice. Mice have zero attention span. So he played a note and he would play, let's call this note B, and the note would startle the mouse. And if he kept playing it, it would keep startling the mouse. But eventually the mouse would get habituated, it would get numb to that sound, and then it wouldn't get startled. So then he played a new note, let's call that C, and then that note would startle the mouse. And if he played that, eventually the mouse got numb to that. Then he played a third note, you called it D, and he did that again until the mouse got sick of it. So in his mind, he said, what's the least amount of notes I can play in the most interesting way to keep the mouse's attention indefinitely? Is that possible? And after thousands of iterations, he found the algorithm, which was BBC, BCD. And then if he repeated it, he would keep the attention of the mouse indefinitely. There was something that triggered inside the mouse's brain that kept it totally transfixed on that algorithm. And then when he thought about that algorithm as a musicologist, he was absolutely shocked. That algorithm, BBC BCD, explains the structure of every pop song that's been charting in the Billboard Top 50 for the last 65 years.
That's crazy.
If you replace the letter B with verse, C with chorus, and D with bridge, that is the algorithm of every pop song that's ever been created. And if it's not that exact algorithm, there's only slight variations based on the micro trends of human psychology that stay within the Maya algorithm.
That is wild. Boop, another jewel for
So,
the crown. Thank you.
one way you can apply that if you're a social media creator is, let's say you're an Instagram model. If you post the same selfie from the same angle every day, everybody knows you're going to lose engagement, right? So you got to mix it up.
Right.
So then let's say you want to do two selfies. Then on the third day, C would be a full body shot. Then you go back to that selfie because that's your money shot. Then you go back to a body shot. And then D would be something completely, totally different, which is maybe something funny or philosophical. So then for an Instagram model, that algorithm would be selfie, selfie, full body shot, selfie, full body shot, philosophical. And then you wash, rinse, and repeat. This applies to sports. If you're a Major League Baseball pitcher and you throw a 110-mile-per-hour fastball, if that's the only pitch you throw, guys will hit it out of the park every time because they're just going to time you. But you got to keep them off balance. So for a baseball pitcher, that algorithm would look like this: fastball, fastball, slider, fastball, changeup, curveball, wash, rinse, and repeat. And then the next inning, start the algorithm at a different position. And then the next inning, change the algorithm. Maybe B becomes curveball, C becomes fastball, and then D becomes a sinker. So you constantly want to change it, but keep the structure, but you can change the algorithm by keeping the structure.
That's totally wild. I love that. How does it work for visual artists, would you say? Like, there's a lot of digital artists in the NFT space. How would you tell them to switch their algorithm up? They make a lot of motion graphics or, 3D renderings. What would you say? And their style is like nature and, geometry.
So okay, let's take nature and geometry. If you're a digital artist and nature is like your main vertical and geometry is second, what would be like your third?
Um, sex, you know,
Okay.
like sexy shots or something.
Oh, perfect. So then that's exactly it. It would be nature, nature, geometry, sex, wash, rinse, and repeat. And then if that didn't work out, then I would start with geometry, nature, then sex. If
Hmm.
that didn't work out, then I would lead with sex, nature, geometry. I would keep playing with it, but somewhere around that algorithm, you're going to find a sweet spot.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So that's three major keys. Where can people learn more about the second part, the musicologist? Would you
Anybody
say
can
his name again?
Google David Huron, Huron. It's a famous study in the musicology and the data science space. So I've been applying that to literally like everything. I mean, there's so many millions of applications. You could apply to James Harden's crossovers in the NBA. You know,
Wow.
crossover left, crossover right, right, then step back three, and you're like, whoa, that's literally his algorithm for the first quarter. Then he'll switch it up the second quarter, switch it up in the third quarter, but there's always an algorithm for that.
I love that. Thank you, Jen. I really
Yeah, my
love that.
pleasure.
Yeah, that's quite an incredible nugget, and it's definitely something that I'm going to be thinking about and seeing where in my life I can switch it up. I mean, if you think about it, like even in relationships, right? You need that type of spontaneity or switching up or an algorithm that will keep things fresh and sexy
Correct.
and exciting and, you know, interesting for your partner and for yourself, right? So
Correct.
that's an
Correct.
algorithm like we can apply to humanity, right,
Well, I
at
mean, speaking
large.
of relationships and sex, if you initiate intimacy with your partner the same way every single time, and the experience is always the same, people get habituated to it, and then they tune out or zone out. You
Right.
can't allow anyone, your audience or your partner, to ever tune you out or zone out. Your voice is too important. So you've got to apply this to command attention. So if you typically initiate intimacy, one way, which is always romantic, then that third time, switch it up, throw in a curveball, go romantic, romantic, kind of dominant, romantic, dominant, and then really funny. And then, play with that algorithm with that as well.
I love that. Okay, so I'm now no longer a newbie. I've gotten these tips, right, from watching this video. I'm doing everything that you've recommended. I'm subscribed to your Substack at Music Notes, at TikTok Music Notes, or TikTokNotes.com. And I'm loving it. I'm seeing the growth. I've at least 5x'd myself. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling great. Plus, I've got personal growth, so my videos are better, right?
And you're
Creative growth.
posting consistency, right?
I'm posting consistently at least 3 times a day.
Brilliant.
I've scaled it down because you were saying 5 to 7 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done is I post 4 times on TikTok and 3 times a day to Instagram, different things. And one video is the same video. Okay, like my best and most popular video is the same video across platforms just to get myself out there, but distinctly 4 different videos and 3 different videos to those 2 different platforms using
Mm-hmm.
Maya, using Mr. Heron's musicology study.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. Now I've been approached by BMG, Bertelsmann Music Group. We actually had Jonathan on from BMG just yesterday or the day before.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and he was talking about how they have a deal with TikTok and that they are doing like licensing deals and different like sync deals with like artists. And so
They're
I'm wondering
super
if,
innovative. They
yeah.
invested in our company, and they're our first major publisher partner as of 2019.
Oh, excellent. Can you say a little bit more about like that relationship and what that looks like for people who want to understand publishing or sync?
So in terms of Vest, everything has to do with the size of the catalog. And when you have that many songs to offer, we have everyone from Ariana Grande to The Weeknd, to Aerosmith, to the Turtles. Happy Together, one of the oldest songs that we all love. So it was super important to establish relationships with major publishers. Obviously, the major artists, major publishers, labels, Sony, ATV, Warner Chappell, Universal, super important, of course. But again, our focus is on the independent artists. But obviously, we can't ignore the majors. And when we did the demo for them, they also not just wanted to work with us, but they wanted to be an early investor as well.
That's amazing. How do you engage, independent artists in terms of a catalog? What sorts of, like, what kind of like volume or like, how do you determine who's going to come on to Vest?
So eventually anyone can raise any amount of money on Vest, and it's just going to be an automated process. And in the beginning, because we didn't have the ability or the technology to scale to billions of users, and we didn't even have billions of buyers anyway to support that, we want to scale in proportion to users and songs. Um, but in the beginning, we just looked for people who are innovative, who are unique, original, who just had that potential to grow, who had that work ethic, who understand their brand, they understood their audience. They had all the tool sets to make it, especially that work ethic and the reliability. They weren't just in it for the scene, that they had sustainable tools and habits.
Can we highlight and just like drill down on that tool set or that skill set to make it? Because I think sometimes, in working with artists, they think that all they need to do is make the work or be the talent and do something great, and then their manager or their management team will handle the rest. And I kind of like, it's such a shame to me when artists actually don't have that business mindset or even the will to want to match the type of business or like takeoff that they want. They just want to make stuff, and it's everyone else's responsibility to kind of like make it happen. I
Mhm.
Can you speak more about that tool set that they need to have and how important understanding business or trying to have a business philosophy or mind is important to their success?
Yeah, a lot of them don't think about marketing and they don't think about branding. They just feel like, oh, I'm the best rapper, I'm the best lyricist, writer, producer, and my skills should do it. Should is one of the most unproductive words in human history. I don't even value the word should. In fact, that word like enrages me. That kind of demonstrates entitlement. In this world, you have to put a little bit of effort. Yes, the greatest artists should be absolutely successful. The greatest artists should be rich and famous and all that good stuff. But there's so much more you need to do. And some of the things that artists forget about is spending time marketing and social media. They don't put enough time on that. And they're like, man, I already play 7 instruments and I sing and I write and I produce and all that. Like, I don't have time, but like, you've got to make time. Our our language, our culture is social. People spend 8, 9, 10 hours on social. They don't watch TV anymore. People learn on social. They share, communicate. Everything is on social, of all age groups. Like that is the fabric of our DNA. And to say that you're not going to be a part of that is a really big lost opportunity. One of the main things that I see that artists struggle with is in developing the brand. And all artists should look at their brand like Nike or Disney. Nike and Disney both have brand Bibles, and these Bibles could be hundreds, if not thousands, of pages thick. And that brand Bible will be as simple as, how do you explain yourself in one sentence? What's your 11-second elevator pitch? What's your origin story? What's your genesis? Like, hey, I grew up without a father. I got shot when I was young, blah, blah, blah. I overcame drugs addiction. Like, what's your story? And then how did music change you? And then where are we at now? Like, everybody needs your origin story. And it's not just musician. Every human being should be able to answer the question, so what's your story, at like a cocktail party? So write down your origin story. And then you've got to have a tagline, like, what do you do better than anyone else? And all of this should go into something called a deck. And it's your pitch deck, your presentation deck, sponsor deck, whatever you want to call it. And, it's like a 10, 12, 20-page document that describes everything about you. It's got your bio in it. It's got your metrics, your analytics. your demographics, your geolocation information. Like, hey, I have a million people looking at me in India. I'm huge in China. This is my age group. 18 to 24 is my sweet spot. All the brands need to know this, and you need to know this.
Mm.
I get the best hits when I post at noon, and then again at midnight, and then at 3 a.m. for some reason, and then at 7 a.m. My UK audience is like lighting me up. So like the brands need to know this, but all of this goes into your brand Bible. You also need to know what are your core adjectives, and people don't even think about that. Like what the hell does that mean? Like if you think of I don't know, BTS, the boy band, biggest K-pop band in the world. They sold out New York Nets Stadium, 42,000 seats in 6 minutes.
Wow.
They have very clear adjectives. There's always about loving yourself, self-love, accepting yourself, inclusivity, loving everyone around you, giving, paying forward. That's the TikTok vibe. That is the world vibe. We are so desperate for that. And this is why BTS has the BTS army. And that army is so powerful, they canceled Donald Trump's rally. They
Right.
they bought out 20,000 seats at a rally, and Donald Trump thought, oh, he sold out. And in fact, nobody came because the BTS army literally like canceled it by, fake buying this stuff. But as an artist, what are your adjectives? Are you about empowering people? Is it about confidence? Is it about swagger? Is it about this Rolls Royce? Or is it about something deeper? Is it about loving yourself? Doesn't matter how you look, your weight, your scars, mental, physical. So things like that are super important. And brands more than ever are trying to align not with your look and your artistry and your skill, but they're also trying to align with you based on your morals, your values, and ethics. Every brand in the world is spending billions of dollars, not every, but tens of billions of dollars are being spent on almost every company for diversity, inclusivity training. And this is why we saw this BLM movement. We're talking about income, wealth inequality, resource, education disparity, food, water insecurity. There's a whole host of issues. So, what do you stand for? All the brands know this is important, and the people that represent them need to align with them. So the artists need to think like a brand. And maybe you don't ever want to work with Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which is cool. But if you ever do, if you ever want Budweiser to present you at Staples Center or in front of Coachella, if you ever want to go on a global tour with Nestle, then you want to be brand friendly. But you have to understand your brand first and foremost. And it all starts with the brand Bible. Google brand Bible, read Nike's brand Bible, read Disney's brand Bible, and you've got to really like contextualize it. And once you have that brand Bible and your adjectives, your core values, your origin story, your genesis of who you are, now you can extrapolate that and say, oh, well, now this is my presence on TikTok. Here's my presence in IG, YouTube, IG Reels, TikTok, Snapchat. Now it's very easy. If you're too random, even little kids know when something is too random. A little kid will look at another kid weird and say, you're just random. They can't verbalize it, but it's very innate in our human subconscious that we can identify randomness. You don't want to be random. You don't want to be overly predictable, but you want to use Maya theory in creating your brand. So that's a little predictability, a little unpredictability, but not too much. And that's your sweet spot for the brand.
Wow. I have so many questions. I first of all, thank you for that. That was really, really articulate and like surgical. So, yeah, I'll be replaying this. I think, you know, a lot of what you said hit home in terms of what we're doing here, my partner Coldy and I, what we're doing here with the creative crypto community. It's all about community. Those are community, advancing artists, getting artists like paid, having them understand with confidence, that whatever their gifts are, the world needs it, wants it, and now they should be doing it, not should. And now is the opportune time to do that very thing. I say my personal philosophy, like the wishing well is open. The wishing well, the vortex is open. Whatever it is you want to do, whoever it is you want to be, right? Whatever you want to manifest. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Put your ticket in, put your order in, pour all of that desire into the wishing well, into the vortex, because now is that time. And, the window is open and everybody's invited to the party. Everyone is the guest of honor. And we're happy to see you. We're happy you're here. Now share your music with us. It's like a global jam session. You've been given this instrument and we want you to use it. And there is no bad sound. We just have to like tune it up. And so I love that you're giving these tips and jewels for people's crowns so that they can tune up, who they are and what it is they want to offer the world, especially through their instrumentation or instrument of music. So thank you so much for that. Jin, what is your origin story? Do you ever think about that? Or do you think about others more than yourself in that way?
So I've always thought about others. I've always been, I think, more of a giver than a taker. So, it's so funny. I've had this conversation many times over the past couple of weeks, especially on Clubhouse, and I haven't ever focused on my own brand or what is my own origin story and mission. But for me, basically, I start off as an experiential event producer, and I was always about building community for other brands, whether it was Coca-Cola, whether it was the Nikes, the Gillettes, Nestle's of the world, or like video game companies. And it's about building community. So when I co-founded my first tech company, yeah, the technology was great, the applications, the UX, the UI, and all of that technical jargon was great. But how are users going to find community? And I love what you said about community earlier with what you're doing with Crypto Basil. And that's why I know you're going to succeed, because you're community driven. I believe in the fourth industrial revolution that we're walking into. Everything is about community. It's not just the product. It's not just about the company or the brand. It's bigger than that. It's about the community. It's the ecosystem. Steve Jobs pioneered this. 10 years ahead of anybody else. It wasn't just the phone. It was the App Store. It was Apple Music. It was iBooks. It was this entire ecosystem that he built. It wasn't just one product, one service. It was all of it. And we all have to think in terms of ecosystem. So if that's anything related to my story, it's all about building community and ecosystem, and I want to champion that. And if there's one client that needs ecosystem and community more than any other brand, service, or product, it's the world we live in. We don't really have community right now. We don't have it in the United States. We don't have it in many countries, and we need community. And TikTok and some of these tech-enabled platforms are kind of leading that and are giving us a glimpse in what community could look like. We're seeing a vibe being scaled, to virality. We're seeing empathy at scale. That's kind of amazing. And if you can kind of create that vibe and join that community and scale that, with the tools that we're seeing, which by the way are free, then it's an incredible opportunity.
It is incredible opportunity. And I love that you said the tools are free. I also want, people to keep in mind that it's free because of the exchange of data as well, right? So I'd love for that data and those data sets to be made public in a way that folks can actually use that to drive more of it and stitch together the various global communities, even if they are like the sub cultures of the world. Just use that to stitch, all of us together so that we have a global voice, if you will, a global vision where we can look at, what is the brand ethos of Earth, right? You've got Elon Musk in the news last week saying like, look, I'm out of here. Mars is not going to be attached to any of the Earth laws or any of the jurisdictions here. It's its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about that, ourselves as galactic citizens or citizens of the universe, then what you're saying in terms of like the basic branding and the ideas of the ethos of Earth makes sense when we take this algorithm and think of ourselves as actual Earthlings and like the global, sense. I think that would absolutely change the world. And if we use the tools like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and whatever else to, do more than just show our cool vacations and our new Bugatti, from our whatever course online and, our newest eyelashes or whatever people are showing online, if we actually start sharing more about the Earth ethos and this idea of Maya for the Earth, it would be our experience as humans, right? As a human family would greatly change. I'd love to see IDEO or someone take that on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last thing I want to talk about here as we're approaching 10 o'clock. You and I have spoken about the idea of blockchain and TikTok somehow, coming together, right? Or another social app, right? That's doing what TikTok is doing, giving folks the opportunity that they're having, like the gentleman you mentioned who's obese and has 10 million followers, or Lauren who has 11 billion views for her Wipe It Down challenge, and then the gentleman who then got the 360 deal, connected to Lauren using his song. I think about that a lot, and I'm I keep Rubik's cubing what a scenario looks like where, someone like Lauren, she's a comedian, she's an actress, would then get a movie deal or a Netflix deal. But then the person who's using the person who Lauren used their song, they get that 360 deal. But then the 11 billion viewers somehow get a dividend, whether maybe it's a data dividend, I don't know, or maybe it's an NFT. They get something, right, from participating in the elevation of these two individuals in their careers, plus the brands and record companies that are attached, right? So in your mind, using all the tools that you've laid out for us, all the jewels that you've shared, what does that relationship look like? How does that work? How does an artist get a publishing deal from their presence on TikTok? And then how does the actor or talent or, influencer get their deal? And how do they monetize it and put it on the blockchain? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's currently all, off of the platform, and you're bringing up so many topics that are very near and dear to my heart, and something that we all have to tackle. Um, Data privacy and where our data is going and how it's being sold is it's incredibly vast, and I'm not a technically driven founder. I'm more of a like community creative founder. Um, Data is more valuable than oil. That's been quoted so many times, originally by Brittany Kaiser, who was in The Great Hack on Netflix. I think it was mimicked in The Social Dilemma, a lot of places. There's 5, 6, 7,000 data points on every human being on the planet who's trackable. There's billions that don't have phones, but that's going to change in a few years. And then with that data, we have no idea how much value is being created. People call China the Saudi Arabia of data because they're collecting so much more data than us because we have data laws a little bit, although we're still giving up a whole ton of data, through whether it's like Alexa or Hey Google or Hey Siri. China's they're pulling silos of data that are diametrically so much more than ours, and it's all to feed artificial intelligence. AI is going to be the last invention that humans will ever make. And in order to win the AI race, you have to have the most amount of data. The data is what creates that artificial intelligence superiority. So first of all, I want to establish how important data is in data privacy and how everyone should care about that. And that's a whole separate topic. Going back to your original question on what kind of solutions can we devise to help monetize people for their own data and give them data privacy, I cite two examples. There's Steemit, and then there's DTube, built on the Steemit blockchain, tokenized. by Steemit. And Steemit is kind of like Reddit. However, it's the same format, but for the creators who create content, you get Steemit tokens if it gets popular. If you curate content and you're not the creator, but that gets popular as a curator, then you also get incentivized with Steam tokens. If you like or dislike or downvote, upvote, any interaction, you'll get fractional tokens. So everyone is getting monetized in the way that you just described. And your data is kept private because it's decentralized. Facebook is centralized. There's a central server. There's monitors. There's data collection. There's data. There's filters. You can be deplatformed. You can be you can go to Facebook jail, quote unquote. That's never going to happen on a decentralized platform. So I think the future of social media is going to be on a blockchain of sorts. There's going to be a TikTok blockchain. There's going to be an IG, Facebook blockchain, a Twitter blockchain. We're already kind of seeing that. It's already questionable what kind of data TikTok is collecting and how much the Chinese government has influence on how they could cognitively hack the minds of young TikTok users. There's a real danger to that, and it might not be exploited now, but the question is, could it be exploited in the future? So I definitely believe blockchain is the future of, I guess, the attention economy, where we're going to monetize attention, monetize creation in a very diplomatic, immutable, unhackable way that's decentralized and that will give you absolute privacy to say and think whatever you want, protect freedom of speech, and I don't know, create like a real democratic medium where we can communicate and connect.
How are you personally or professionally preparing for that future?
I am trying to educate as many of my peers as possible, the thought leaders. I'm trying to inspire the people who, quote unquote, don't care. I try to have as many conversations like this as possible. I try to educate myself as much as possible. Again, I'm not a technology driven founder. I'm interested in it and I'm trying to learn. I'm a student of technology more than anything. Just like I'm a student of TikTok. I'm not a master. I'm just trying to share what I know. So I think education is number one. Conversation is two. Once you have conversation, hopefully you get inspiration. That inspiration can sometimes lead to action. And if one person creates action, that can potentially incite millions to participate in action, create a movement and support. There's a kid who I forget the name of the company who is like the foremost expert in driverless freight trucks, and he's 21 years old, but he's been winning battle bots where you create like these robots that battle each other. He's been winning that since he was 13 years old. And when you see like a 13-year-old kid who is going to be like the future guru of autonomous vehicles, it's absolutely amazing. And now he's 21 and he's worth $100 million. So somebody had to spark his imagination, and not all of us have the capabilities he does. But if I don't have the technological capability, maybe I can help him build the community around it. Maybe you can help activate him creatively. There's always a role for all of us. We just have to figure out, can we get behind this movement and do we want to champion this?
I love that. I will say to anyone watching that is 13 or has a child that's interested in autonomous racing vehicles, AWS does a competition every year around South by Southwest where you can bring your own autonomous vehicle that you've built and race it on, their racetrack. And
Oh,
the
good to
former
know.
founder, the former founder of Wired, Chris Anderson, he also has a Robocars club. I was a brief member of his Robocars club in Oakland, where again, you can go there with your autonomous, little Robocar, and you can race it around. That, I believe that competition wasn't for money, but then there are annual ones like in the desert that are for money, and it's all autonomous. And it's really, really awesome. I love that you brought that up. Someone asked two questions, so just two last questions, and then we'll wrap it up because I feel satiated, I feel full, I feel honored by your presence and everything you've shared. Two questions are, again, how do you get a publishing deal from TikTok, right? And then the other question is, they're saying, should NFT artists use TikTok or Instagram for their art, and then what are the benefits? Well, I would say we've already kind of covered that. So, and this was from Bruce the Goose. Hey, Bruce, I would say go back and look at the beginning of the video and search for those jewels, because those answers are covered in there. And yes, having a presence on TikTok, having a presence on Instagram, as a crypto artist is important. You want to have a presence on social, period, as it is a a marketing tool. It is a tool to advance your career, and you can't just be creative. You have to be thinking about your business. I mean, it's great to team up with people who can also, give you that business support. But as an artist, you got to be on time, right? With things. You have to be on time with everything. Timing is uber important, right? To your success, uber important to the moment. As we spoke about at the, top of the hour with Dogface, the timing of his post, the timing of the fuck it, I'm going to take my longboard and my ocean spray and get out there, the timing of everything was key to his current success. So don't be a procrastinator. Don't think you can just put things off and, it doesn't matter because you can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow may not be the right time. And the philosophy and disciplines of Maya that Jen spoke of also illustrate why a certain type of timing or algorithm to how you engage and how you see your business is important, and how you see yourself ultimately. So please, Bruce the Goose, go back and see that. So now the last question is, how do you establish yourself now as a genuine artist? You've got a publishing and or licensing deal. How do you make that jump from being on TikTok and being popular as a musician, and then getting the attention of a Vest or a BMI to get a
There's
licensing
two
or publishing
things.
deal?
You've got to have a platform, you've got to have following. You could have all the talent in the world, but if no one knows who you are, then how does a publisher or a label monetize you? So we have to think like a businessman. You've got to have a following, and there's no faster way to get viral than TikTok currently. We're seeing it over and over, and it's absolutely free. For the people a couple of years ago who said, you know what, it's too late for me on IG, it's saturated, I wish I got on in the beginning. Well, guess what? This is the beginning of something. It's the new IG, and it's bigger and more powerful and more viral than Instagram will ever be. People are absolutely exploding. Charlie D'Amelio got 90 million followers in a year. Like, she is the biggest thing in the world, bigger than Kylie Jenner, Ariana Grande, anyone that you can imagine. And it's all happening right now in TikTok. So the publishers and the labels are going to, everyone is looking at TikTok. Everyone's trying to figure out how to monetize and optimize. You can do the same. We spoke for the last hour about some basic tools. And I guess the last couple of things I just want to lead off with is, define your objectives. Is it just to get a brand deal? We talked about artists creating their own brand Bible, just like Nike, just like Disney. But you also have to create a journey map. You have to create a mind map or a journey map. And every creator must do this. There's a great free tool on the App Store called Xmind app, and you can download it, and it creates the most beautiful mind map ever. So in the center of your mind map or journey map, you put down your name, and you are Juice World, you are Post Malone. And then from that, it branches out into other smaller circles, and it's your licensing deal, your shoe deal. It's going to be music licensing, television, commercials, partnerships, collaborations, and I want to be a character in a manga cartoon. You put all of that down, and then you create more branches. We're not just linear thinkers. As humans, we're visual thinkers. Once you have this gorgeous mind map that you created for free on Xmind, you print that out, tape it to your wall, look at every day. Once you can visualize something, and the most successful entrepreneurs in the world have one thing in common, and that's visualization. They all have different paths to fame and billion-dollar market caps, but the one thing they all have the same is they can visualize exactly what they want. If you can't visualize it, it'll never happen. People talk about the law of attraction, manifestation, but you've got to visualize it. So mind map this. Once you have the mind map, then you can create the journey map. And reverse engineer how to get there. Disney did this to great effect with Mickey Mouse, the theme parks, the cartoons, the TV shows, the music, the books, the licensing, all the other IP that they have. Every brand in the world has a big journey map. You, as a musician, as a brand or small business owner, you need a journey map as well, so you can visualize that. And then I guess the last thing is you've got to have networks, and you've got to they say your network is your net worth, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's not a cliche. It's a simple fact. You can't just make music all day and stay in your basement. You got to get out there and you got to network. And now with COVID, it's easier than ever because we can connect off Zoom, off Clubhouse, on social media, and we should always connect. One of the most underutilized tools for musicians is LinkedIn. How many musicians are on LinkedIn for an hour a day? Guess what? Every executive from Spotify, Apple Music, Beats by Dre, Tidal, Sony ATV, Warner Chappell, Universal, everybody, ASCAP, CSAC, BMI executives, they're all on LinkedIn. I would click, 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 click. I would friend everybody. And then I would friend them wherever I could on Facebook, figure out where their birthdays are, find out all the facts. If on Facebook they said, "Oh, today's my 10-year anniversary wedding," oh my God, I would save that. And then I would be that one person that sends them like a happy anniversary message every year. And people will say, "Well, Jin, how do I organize? I've got like 5,000 people on my phone. Like, that's an impossible task. I have to make music. I got to tour. I got to make merch." You know what? Why don't you automate it? Why don't you get a CRM tool, which is pretty much free? Download Salesforce, download Close.io, HubSpot, Pipedrive. There's a million of them. Notion is free. Get a CRM tool, customer relationship management. Every salesperson in the world uses this. Musicians need to do this. Put in 5,000 contacts, and then with all those people, you can automate every single email. Oh, it's it's so and so's birthday. Who's the head of this studio? Send him an email, and then you know what? In 3 months, when my EP is out, I'm gonna send a follow-up email. It'll schedule that for you. You can send somebody a text and schedule that months in advance. And when they respond, and then they say the word presentation, do you have a presentation deck? It'll automatically send you a response with, "Thanks for inquiring about my presentation deck. Here it is, it's attached." That's automated. You just set it up. Set up every single interaction and it'll automate it forever. And then when it needs to escalate and it doesn't have an answer, it'll hit you up and say, "Hey, how do you want to respond to this?"
Jin, it has been my absolute pleasure to welcome you to Crypto Basel. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. I've very much enjoyed this conversation, and I just enjoy you personally. I think you're a rad human being. So thank you for
feeling is very mutual.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for giving of your time. Thank you for sharing the lessons you've learned along the way, both personally and professionally. And if folks want to stay in contact with you, give us your socials. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can, support your work, because we must create in this community reciprocal relationships. I would like you to name maybe 2 things that you would like help with on your journey.
Yeah, go to my website, vest.co. That's VEZT.co. Check out our app. It's a blockchain music royalty app. We empower independent artists as well as big artists. And we're creating a new monetization system for independent music artists. And then the same engine, we're going to eventually onboard podcasters, YouTubers, authors, script writers, television, film projects. We want to crowdsource almost anything, monetize it, and create its own ecosystem that's totally decentralized, where the power is in your hands. That's one, vest.co. And then if you want to find me personally, maybe IG is the best. Instagram at JINWOOYU. That's at JinWooYu, and drop me a DM, and I'm happy to chat and rap with anyone.
Jin, you have yourself a fantastic day. The sun is shining, and as Bob Marley says, the weather is sweet. We'll see each other in Clubhouse or offline for another great chat. Thank you.
It's a privilege and an honor. Thank you.
Right on. See you in the future, Jin.
Bye.
Bye.